It's kind of double for me personally because it's kind of like you're almost a villain if you have a question, right? It's almost like, you know, you're anti something because you question something.
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about a very interesting conversation on MSNBC, featuring a small group of black male voters talking about Kamala Harris, the election process, politics in general, and a little bit more. Now, I've not seen the entire thing as of yet. I've seen bits and pieces. I'm like, okay, this is going to be pretty interesting. I really want to dig into it to see what they say and add my 2 cents, because although I've not seen it, I'm willing to bet that they don't have a true, strong, conservative voice on the panel. If it's me, I'm going to be a very strong voice. You're going to know what's going on. It won't be no two ways about it. Now, before I go any further, let's go ahead and cut to the actual clip right here. And of course, I will link to the entire thing in the description. If you're on IG, visit the link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it. And before we start, my man's look right here might tell you a little bit about how the panel's going to go, but it might surprise you. Let's go ahead and roll it.
And our friend Charles Coleman joins me right now. Charles is also a former Brooklyn, New York prosecutor and host of the Charles Coleman podcast.
Beard goals, sir. Charles Coleman, beard goals.
So here's the question, my friend. What did you gather from these conversations about how having Vice President Harris at the top of the ticket is going to influence their vote?
Well, Alex, I think the easiest thing that I can say that I took from these discussions is that we are not a monolith. I think that this intergenerational conversation that I was able to have really invited a bunch of different perspectives about what the enthusiasm has been since Kamala Harris has entered the race for president. And then also for some people, how it hasn't changed. I heard from young people who talked about their issues and what they're most concerned about, not necessarily being wowed by the significance of Kamala Harris as a black woman, because their frame of reference for the presidency is President Obama. So they've had a black president. I've talked to older people who talked about the fact that regardless of who is in office, they're concerned about things like Social Security and the price of prescription drugs. But one of the things that I learned was that there is a sense of pressure from some people to just get on the bandwagon, regardless of what she's talking about, because of the fact that she is a black woman. And I thought that was a very interesting dynamic.
But you know, the thing about it is, let's just be clear. Let's be all the way clear. The people who are voting Kamala because she's black, we're going to vote for Joe Biden anyway. Can we be all the way real? Do you think that anybody was going to change their vote from Donald Trump to Kamala Harris because she's black? I don't think so.
So let's listen to this side and where I get some information from one of the people I'm talking to.
How much pressure, if any, do you feel to make the commitment and engage the conversation or the support for Kamala Harris from community before you've heard anything in terms of what her platform is?
Rather significantly. Being an HBCU alum and D9 member.
So for you guys who don't know, HBCU, that's historically black college university. Colleges that at one point had to be black, but are now historically black, which means they have usually a majority black population. It's not required to be black only because that's illegal. Second thing, D9, that is Divine Nine. He is a member of a fraternity, and judging on his colors, he could be a Kappa, but I don't know what he is. I don't want to say the wrong thing and get beat up in these streets by these very serious frat guys, but I digress.
We've already seen that push and that call for all of us to rally behind her. She already had my vote, based on, and we had this conversation earlier in the year, the Biden administration actually campaigned on forgiving student loans, and they forgave my wives. That was a direct benefit for me. So they had my vote solidified on that.
Now, sometimes when you have these people that have their loans forgiven and they come out there and speak before the public, that means they kind of give the rest of the general population hope. But during the Biden administration, the entire time from 2021 up until right now, he's forgiven about $170 billion in student loans, give or take. But the entire student loan debt bubble is 1.7 trillion with a T. So you're talking about 10% or fewer of the total debt, and $100 billion of student loan debt is created every single year. Fun fact, but I digress.
But I do feel like the symbolism of the moment does urge us a little bit more, even without hearing the platform, to be behind it.
It's kind of double for me personally because it's kind of like you're almost a villain if you have a question, right? It's almost like, you know, you're anti something because you question something. And politically, you know, because it's such a finite timetable of when you have to make a decision, it doesn't leave room to have a real in-depth conversation.
Let's pause. Now, I don't understand that. I do understand that for normies, but for me, I don't understand them. Sorry for the pausing. It's MSNBC. I got to do it for fair use, copyright, whatever. He said it's such a short period of time. That's kind of what I heard. Maybe I said the wrong thing. You don't got a lot of time to decide. But these people campaign way in advance. You're talking about sometimes 2 or 3 years in advance they campaign, or they're out there putting their name out in front of the general public. There's always rumors about who may run and whatnot. In this instance, you're given a very short period of time because what they did was rob your primary process from you, where you had the ability to decide between him and her or somebody else. But since they took away the whole primary thing and had y'all vote for him, now they're sticking Kamala Harris in there at the very 0 hour at the last minute and making you just accept what the delegates will pick for you rather than who you voted for. You, if you voted in the primary, voted for Joe Biden, not Kamala Harris. Yes, she's a VP on the ticket, but you had no hand in selecting who that was going to be because the guy you selected picked her.
Almost put in a place where you have to just say, come on, let's go. And it's like, come on, let's go with what, right? And then when you're halfway down the road and you feel like, wait a minute, I shouldn't be part of this bandwagon. Are you anti because you want to back off now? Or you know, let me out the car. You know what I'm saying? How you looked at now, you know what I mean? So it's rough.
That's a Boys and Hoods reference for people that catch.
Yeah, I caught that. That was a Boys and Hood reference because it was a certain point where I forget who the character. I think it might have been Cuba Gooding Jr.'s character. He was in the back of the vehicle. I think it might have been Ice Cube driving, and they about to go do some gang stuff. And Cuba Gooding Jr.'s character is listening to his father, Lawrence Fishburne, his words in his head, and he's like, yo, I can't be right here right now. I'm not trying to die, all this, that, and the third. And I think they might have got killed in that car on that day. I forgot how that went, but I digress.
Gotcha. There are a lot of people who are skeptical about the following question, and I want a yes or no from each of you. Do you think she can win?
Yes.
I think it's going to be difficult.
Yes or no, sir? Yes or no, sir, please.
1 or 2, but I don't think so.
There we go.
I think she can win. It depends on the strategy her campaign manager takes. I think she can win, but I think we got to get the young people involved. We got to get the young people's vote. And how do you engage those people? How do they strategize to get that vote from them?
I think she's going to win. I think she can win, but I think she's a more compelling candidate than Donald Trump is. So I think she can win.
So like for me, right, here's why I say I don't think so. Everything that we've seen in the realm of American politics since 2016 till now has been because we had a black man in office. So he won 2 consecutive terms, and as Kurt said earlier, when we were having a conversation, and we paid 3 times much hell since then. Now to up the ante with a black woman in office, I just think it's going to be hard.
You know, some things ain't always about race. Basically, from what I gathered, he was trying to say is that because there was one black guy, now the next person has got to do a lot better because there's a lot of eyes. I mean, what does that mean? Okay, you had a black president for not 1 but 2 terms. If it was 1 term, it could have been a fluke. It could have been whatever, maybe. Okay, cool. But 2 terms, that was intentional. You had to have everybody on the same page on one side, at least, to vote for that guy. Blacks, whites, Puerto Rican candy stripe, everybody got to be on the same page. So now all of a sudden it's a backlash. Why? Did he not do a good job or something? Is that what you're trying to say? Are you trying to say the black Jesus did not do a good job? How dare you, right? I agree with that assertion, by the way, but I don't know if your Meemaw and them going to appreciate that too much.
So I hope I'm wrong.
Okay, so that's that. That's that. I'll link to the video in the box. But as I close, I want to say this. Kamala Harris, good luck. I mean, really, I don't see it happening. 2020, you were performing very poorly when you ran for president the first time. You didn't do well. You got curb stomped by Joe Biden, Amy Klobuchar, Pete Buttigieg, guys you never heard of before in your life. Random people, okay, they were curb stomping her in 2020 during the primary. Ultimately got beat by Joe Biden. I don't know how she's going to perform that poorly then and then do better all of a sudden now. To me, it doesn't make any sense. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your take on this MSNBC conversation with a few black male voters? You think that they are pretty much on point, off point, whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. You got to have a better panel than that because a lot of these guys are kind of on the same page, doing some of the same things. You got to have a better panel than that. Me, if I was on there, it would have been a little bit different. It would have been a teeny bit different with a lot more conservative ideology put in there. And it could have been a good conversation. I've been on things like this before. I was on Jubilee where they had black conservatives and black liberals being asked questions, but it wasn't too much back and forth and debate and whatnot. I want one of those. That'd be really good to have. So you can really see what's going on in the quote unquote community. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.